Hello, and this is Miss Mason Explains Constitutional Law. We'll be looking at a few cases today. The first one will be Marbury v. Madison, and the second, McCulloch v. Marylan. All right, let's get started. The first case, Marbury v. Madison, was heard by the Supreme Court in 1803. In 1800, Republican Thomas Jefferson won the presidential election. Before he took office, President John Adams, the previous president, quickly appointed 58 members of his own party to fill government positions. This was a way for him to leave people that John Adams thought supported what he wanted still in the government in positions of power. Well, Adams' Secretary of State, John Marshall, was supposed to deliver the commissions, the order of the position to each of these new appointees. Well, riding horse around Washington, D.C. in 1800 was a little difficult, and Marshall failed to deliver 17 of the commissions to the new appointees. One of these appointees was William Marbury. William was supposed to be appointed the position of Justice of the Peace. Well, his commission never got to him before President Jefferson took office. So he was very upset, and he sued James Madison, the new Secretary of State for President Jefferson. Now, James Madison never delivered those 17 commissions because they weren't from his president. They were from the previous president. So he did not have to deliver those commissions. Well, Marbury asked the Supreme Court to issue a writ of mandamus, which is a court order that requires an official to perform or not perform a certain duty. And what gave the Supreme Court this power was the Congressional Judiciary Act of 1789, which gave the Supreme Court original jurisdiction to issue the writ. Well, what's kind of funny is when the case came before the Supreme Court, Marshall, the Secretary of State for President Adams, was actually the new Chief Justice. Interesting. All right, so how did this case move through the court system? Well, first, William Marbury brought his case directly to the Supreme Court because the Supreme Court had original jurisdiction due to the Congressional Judiciary Act of 1789. And the Supreme Court of the United States declared that yes, Marbury is entitled to his commission, but the Supreme Court cannot issue the writ of mandamus because the Judiciary Act of 1789 was unconstitutional. It did not follow the Constitution. It went totally against it. And the Supreme Court has the power to review acts of other branches and determine their constitutionality. Do they follow the Constitution? All right. And this constitutional principle is called judicial review. All right. So this case, super important because it created judicial review. All right. So Miss Mason, what is the importance of Marbury v. Madison? Why is it so important? Well, this was the first time the Supreme Court struck down an act of Congress for being unconstitutional, for going against the Constitution. It created the constitutional principle, judicial review. And judicial review made it so that the judicial branch can, 1, interpret the Constitution and decide what it means, and 2, the judicial branch can stop the executive and legislative branches from doing things that go against the Constitution. And that brings up my favorite constitutional principle, checks and balances. All right. Okay. So I found this awesome political cartoon. Before Marbury versus Madison, so prior to 1803, check out the cartoon. You've got the executive branch, got muscles. The legislative branch, muscles. And the judicial branch, no muscles. All right. So after Marbury versus Madison, all three branches are now powerful. They've all got muscle. They all have power. No one of them is more powerful than the other. So after Marbury versus Madison, you have now you have judicial review, where each branch now has its own checks and balance. All right? Okay. So our next Supreme Court case is McCulloch v. Maryland, and it was heard by the Supreme Court in 1819. The Supreme Court was trying to answer, can the national government create a national bank? In 1816, the Second Bank of the United States was created. The United States was trying to get on its feet, just established itself, and it was trying to figure out, what do we do with all these taxes that we have been collecting? So they created the Bank of the United States. Well, Maryland State decided, whoa, we're going to hop on this and we're going to get something from this Bank of the United States. So they imposed a huge tax on the bank. If they're going to take our money, we're going to take some of theirs. Well, McCulloch, the manager of the Baltimore branch of the Bank of the United States, refused to pay the tax and was then arrested. Maryland argued that the federal government did not have the authority to establish a bank. It was not specifically delegated to them in the Constitution in Article 1, Section 8. So the Supreme Court heard the case, and they addressed two questions. Does Congress have the authority under the Constitution to create a national bank? And number two, does the state of Maryland have the authority to tax the national bank? All right. So we've got one, Congress, do they have the authority? And then you have Maryland, do they have the authority? All right. And then, so how did the case move through the court system? All right. So originally, the County Court of Baltimore County convicted McCulloch for failing to pay the $15,000 tax. All right, now $15,000 back in the 1800s, that was a lot of money. Well, the case was appealed, and the Maryland Court of Appeals, which we know is the highest court in the state of Maryland, upheld the decision of the lower court and confirmed McCulloch's conviction. Well, it was appealed again, and the Supreme Court then got the case. Well, the Supreme Court of the United States reversed the lower court's decision. So they did not uphold it, they reversed it. Okay? They overturned McCulloch's conviction. He was not put back in jail. He was released from jail. And they held that establishing a national bank is within the constitutional powers of Congress under the necessary and proper clause. It was necessary and proper for Congress to create a national bank. And they determined Maryland does not have the authority to tax a federal institution. All right. So what does this mean? How is this affecting the Supreme Court today? Well, the Supreme Court expanded Congress's powers to include implied powers through the Necessary and Proper Clause. One of its expressed powers is to levy taxes, to pick up taxes to earn taxes from the citizens of the United States. Well, what are you supposed to do with all of that money that you have received from the citizens of the United States, all their tax money? Well, it is necessary and proper to create a national bank. All right. It also made it so that the federal government was and is supreme. It is higher than the state government when the state and federal laws and acts conflict. So when we have federalism, you've got the federal government at the top, you have the state government in the middle, and you have the local government at the bottom. Well, at the top is the federal government. It rules all. So its laws are the law. And the state will always fall under the federal government. They will never have the authority. They will never be supreme. The federal government is supreme. It is the top. It is the boss. Okay? So that's what that means. See, you've got the United States Constitution, and it's telling all the states what's going to happen. All right? Because they are the boss, the Constitution, the federal government. All right? See, you got the nice scale, the nice weights here. You have Maryland State, and what's going on? They're really, really high up. Who has all of the power? Who weighs more? Federal government, exactly. All right. So I found two really awesome political cartoons that I want to share with you. First, there's the Chief Justice. Establishing a national bank was necessary to carry out Congress's power to tax. There you go, the Necessary and Proper Clause. Here's little Marylan. Exactly. That's why we want it stopped. Okay, so Marylan does not want Congress to be able to tax. They don't want to have to give up their money. So that's why they were trying to tax the national bank. I also found this. See the state powers over on this side. You see the federal powers on this side. Well, who's bigger, the state or the federal? Well, the federal is. Who's this gentleman right here? Uncle Sam, that's right. And where does Uncle Sam have? Muscles. So he's got all the power. He is supreme. He is the boss. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Miss Mason Explains Constitutional Law. Thank you for viewing.